Police, open the door! We know you're in there! Open up now!
The doorbell camera at 284 7 Bell Knoll Street captured everything in crystal clear 1080p. 3 figures in tactical vests. The word police blazoned across their chests in white block letters, hands resting on duty belts. The lead man's fist hammering against the door at 11:43 p.m. on a humid August night in southeast Houston. Police, open up, search warrant. Inside, Marcus Chen heard the pounding and felt his pulse spike. Not from fear, from recognition. He'd executed enough warrants in his 12 years with the FBI to know what a real raid sounded like. The cadence was right, the volume was right, but something else was wrong, the timing. No warrant service happens at midnight on a residential street without advance planning. The vehicles. Through his window, he saw a white panel van and a sedan. No marked units, no light bars. The voices. Aggressive, yes, but lacking the specific legal language real officers used. Marcus had been with the Bureau long enough to smell wrong from 3 rooms away. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments because this story gets more unbelievable with every minute, and every single element is based on documented cases. Subscribe now because what happens next will change how you think about home security forever. His wife Sarah was already moving, former DEA, 15 years in narcotics before rotating to intelligence. She'd drawn her service weapon from the bedroom safe and taken position at the hallway corner. Their teenage son, Devin, home from his first semester at Howard, crouched behind the kitchen island, phone recording, just as they had trained him. This wasn't the family these criminals thought they were targeting. Last warning, open this door. Marcus keyed his phone. Houston PD, this is FBI Special Agent Marcus Chen, badge number 7743. I have 3 individuals at my residence claiming to be police. Need immediate verification of any active warrants for 2847 Bell Knoll Street. The dispatcher's response came fast. Negative, Agent Chen. No active warrants. No units dispatched to that address. Do you need backup? Affirmative. Roll unit silent approach. I have armed individuals impersonating officers at my door. What the men outside didn't know, couldn't know, was that they'd chosen the wrong block, the wrong house, the wrong night. The Houston field office had just wrapped a 3-month gang investigation. Marcus had worked 16-hour days for weeks. His service weapon was loaded and within arm's reach because he'd been too tired to lock it in the safe before collapsing into bed 2 hours earlier. The door exploded inward, not picked, not finessed, kicked. The deadbolt held, but the frame splintered. Wood fragments scattered across the entryway tile. The 3 men burst through, still shouting, "Police!" But their movements were wrong, too aggressive, too scattered. Real officers cleared rooms with precision. These men moved like predators, not professionals. The lead man swept left toward the living room. The second went right toward the kitchen. The third stayed at the door, scanning for threats. That's when they saw Marcus, standing in the hallway, arms visible, no weapon drawn, completely calm. The kind of calm that comes from staring down cartel enforcers and surviving 3 internal shootings. "Gentlemen," Marcus said, his voice carrying that particular FBI authority that makes hardened criminals pause. "You just made a catastrophic mistake." The lead man recovered first. He raised what looked like a Glock. "Get on the ground, now, face down, hands behind your head." Marcus didn't move. "I'm FBI, my wife is DEA. This residence is occupied by federal law enforcement. You're not police. Your vests are Amazon purchases. Your badges are toys. And in approximately 90 seconds, actual Houston PD is going to arrive with actual warrants for your arrest." The room froze. The second man, the one who'd moved toward the kitchen, locked eyes with Sarah. She'd stepped into view, weapon raised, badge displayed on her hip. Every inch the federal agent who'd survived 6 years undercover in Mexican cartels. "Drop your weapons," Sarah commanded. "DEA, you're under arrest for home invasion, impersonating federal officers, and whatever charges the U.S. attorney decides to pile on." The criminals had walked into a trap they'd built themselves. What they didn't know was that this wasn't theoretical. This exact scenario, with different details, different victims, had played out 3 weeks earlier in Northeast Houston. Different address, same tactical vests, same fake badges, same aggressive entry. That first family hadn't been federal agents. They'd been zip-tied, terrorized, robbed at gunpoint. The criminals had escaped with cash and jewelry, disappearing into the Houston night. But intelligence from that case had flagged the crew's pattern. Southeast neighborhoods, homes that looked prosperous but not fortified, late-night entries when residents were most vulnerable. Marcus had read the bolo. He'd shared it with Sarah. They'd discussed it over dinner 2 nights ago. The description matched these men perfectly. The third man at the door made his choice. He ran, sprinted back through the broken doorway, feet hammering on the front steps, diving toward the white panel van. He had the engine started before his partners processed what was happening. The van's tires screamed. The smell of burnt rubber filled the humid air. Taillights disappeared around the corner, just as the first HPD unit rounded the opposite corner, lights blazing. The 2 men still inside faced a choice: fight 2 federal agents in their own home, or surrender to Houston's finest arriving in force. The lead man dropped his weapon. "Don't shoot, don't shoot. We surrender." But surrender wouldn't save them. Because what they'd just done, impersonating federal officers, home invasion, attempted robbery, carried. Sentences measured in decades, not years. The U.S. Attorney's Office would prosecute federally. The penalties would be severe, and that was only the beginning of how wrong this night would go. Officer Patricia Santos was first through the door, weapon drawn, eyes scanning for threats. She'd been with Houston PD for 14 years. She'd responded to thousands of calls, but walking into a home invasion in progress where the victims were federal agents, that was a new one. "HPD, show me your hands." The 2 suspects were already prone, hands behind their heads, Marcus standing over them with his FBI credentials displayed. Sarah had moved to secure the perimeter, checking windows and additional entry points with the tactical precision of someone who'd done this professionally for years. "Officer Santos," Marcus said, his voice now completely calm, almost conversational. "FBI Special Agent Marcus Chen. These 2 subjects forced entry into my residence approximately 4 minutes ago, claiming to be police officers executing a search warrant. They're armed. Their weapons are secured on the kitchen counter. A 3rd suspect fled in a white panel van, heading eastbound on Bell Knoll." Santos keyed her radio. "All units, suspect vehicle is a white panel van, last seen eastbound on Bell Knoll from 2800 block. Occupant is armed and dangerous, wanted for home invasion and impersonating a peace officer." More units arrived. Within 3 minutes, 8 officers surrounded the house. The 2 suspects were cuffed, searched, and placed in separate patrol cars. Their fake badges, purchased online for $19.99 each, were bagged as evidence. Their vests, tactical carrier plates with Velcro police patches, went into evidence bags. Their weapons, real firearms, stolen in a burglary 2 months earlier, were documented and secured. What Officer Santos discovered next would make this case federal and unforgettable. The lead suspect's phone contained photos, dozens of them, homes, photographed from the street, license plates, doorbell cameras circled in red marker on the photos, notes about work schedules, security systems, visible valuables through windows. This wasn't opportunistic. This was a crew, organized, methodical, hunting. Detective James Morrison arrived 20 minutes later. Major Crimes Division. He'd worked home invasions for 9 years. He'd seen crews use various tactics, posing as delivery drivers, utility workers, even religious missionaries. But fake police? That was a specific kind of brazen. "Agent Chen," Morrison said, extending his hand. "Hell of a night." "Detective?" Marcus shook firmly. "They hit another house 3 weeks ago. Northeast Houston, Sterlingshire Apartments. Same vests, same badges, same entry method." Morrison's expression changed. "The Sterlingshire case. We know about that one. Victims were zip-tied, pistol-whipped. Lost about $3,000 in cash and jewelry. We've been hunting this crew since then." "Well," Sarah interjected, holstering her weapon now that the scene was secure, "you just caught 2/3 of them. But the 3rd man, the driver, remained at large. The interrogations began at HPD's Southeast Division Station at 1:47 a.m. The suspects were separated, read their rights, given the opportunity to speak with attorneys, both declined. Mistake number 1. The lead suspect identified himself as Jerome Folks, 34, from Louisiana. His partner was Homero Yotto, 29, from Houston. Both had criminal records: robbery, burglary, assault. Both had served time in Texas prisons. Both were currently on parole. That meant automatic parole violations on top of the new charges. Detective Morrison laid out the evidence: the doorbell camera footage showing their arrival, the 911 call from Agent Chen requesting verification, the fake badges, the weapons, the phone full of surveillance photos. "Here's what I know," Morrison said, his voice calm but carrying weight. "You kicked in the door of 2 federal agents. That's a federal crime. Impersonating law enforcement during commission of a felony, federal crime. Using firearms during commission of a crime of violence, federal crime. The U.S. attorney is going to prosecute this federally, and federal sentences don't have parole." Folks leaned back, trying to project confidence he clearly didn't feel. "We thought it was a drug house. We got bad information." "You thought it was a drug house," Morrison repeated slowly. "So your response was to impersonate police officers and conduct an armed home invasion? That's your defense?" Silence. "Where's your partner, the driver?" More silence. "His name is Andres Hernandez Torres," Morrison continued, sliding a photo across the table. "We pulled his prints from the van he abandoned 6 blocks from the scene. We have his criminal history. We have his phone number from your call logs. He's going to be arrested within 24 hours, and when he is, whoever cooperates first gets the better deal." The truth was simpler and more damning than any interrogation would reveal. This crew had been operating for months. 6 homes hit across Houston, always the same pattern: late-night entries, fake police credentials, victims terrorized and robbed. Until tonight, they'd succeeded every time, but they'd made assumptions. They'd seen a nice house in a middle-class black neighborhood and assumed vulnerability, assumed fear of police would paralyze the residents, assumed no resistance. They'd assumed wrong. By 4:30 a.m., federal charges were being prepared. The U.S. Attorney's Office had been contacted. FBI's violent crimes. Task Force had taken over the investigation from HPD, though Detective Morrison would remain involved as a courtesy. The charges were staggering. Impersonating a federal officer, up to 3 years. Home invasion, up to 20 years. Brandishing firearms during crime of violence, mandatory minimum 7 years, consecutive. And because they'd targeted federal agents, residents, additional enhancements applied. Combined, folks in Yaddo faced minimum sentences of 35 years in federal prison. The third suspect, Hernandez Torres, remained at large for exactly 17 hours. A traffic stop in Galveston. The officer ran the plates on the white panel van. The arrest was anticlimactic. Torres surrendered without incident, sitting in the van's driver's seat, staring straight ahead as officers approached with weapons drawn. He faced identical charges, plus an additional count of fleeing the scene. Marcus and Sarah spent the rest of the night giving statements. FBI protocols required detailed documentation when agents discharged weapons, though neither had fired a shot. Devin's phone footage became evidence, showing the entire confrontation from initial door breach to final surrender. What the footage captured was remarkable. 2 federal agents in their own home, facing 3 armed criminals, maintaining complete tactical control without firing a weapon, professional, calm, decisive, the way they'd been trained. The viral story claimed an entire family of federal agents fought off fake police. That specific claim? Exaggerated, but the documented reality was somehow more instructive. Because what happened on Belknowle Street wasn't the only case. It was part of a pattern stretching back years. Houston, Queens, Georgia, Florida, California. Criminals wearing fake police gear, targeting homes, terrorizing families. And sometimes those families fought back. 3 weeks before the Chen residence incident, the encounter that hadn't been reported publicly because the family requested privacy, another home invasion had occurred. Different address, different victims, same crew, same tactics. That victim wasn't a federal agent. He was a registered nurse named Marcus Williams, licensed concealed carry holder, Army veteran. He'd served 2 tours in Iraq before returning to Houston and building a quiet life. When 3 men in fake police, vests kicked in his door at 11:17 p.m. on July 31st, 2025, Marcus Williams made a different choice than Marcus Chen would make 3 weeks later. He opened fire. 2 suspects, Jerome Folks and Homero Yaddo, died on Williams' living room floor before they could raise their weapons. The third, Andres Hernandez Torres, fled in the white panel van, leaving his partners bleeding out on strangers' carpet. The Harris County medical examiner would later confirm both deaths as justifiable homicide. Texas law was clear. Castle doctrine, stand your ground. An intruder forcing entry into an occupied residence creates presumption of imminent threat. Deadly force is legally justified. Marcus Williams was never charged, never arrested. Gave his statement to detectives, provided his legally owned firearm for ballistics testing, and walked out of the police station a free man. But the crew didn't die, because Torres survived. He recruited new partners, and 3 weeks later, they tried again. This time, they chose the wrong house. The federal prosecution moved with unusual speed. The evidence was overwhelming. Doorbell cameras, cell phone footage, surveillance photos on suspects' phones, testimony from 2 federal agents, physical evidence of fake badges and tactical gear. The U.S. Attorney's Office filed a superseding indictment in late September 2025. It connected the Chen residence invasion to the Williams residence invasion. Same crew, same methods, different outcomes. Torres faced additional charges now. Felony murder. Under Texas law, if someone dies during commission of a felony you're participating in, you're liable for murder, even if you didn't pull the trigger, even if the person who died was your partner. The legal theory was straightforward. Torres drove the van for the July 31st invasion. His partners died during that felony. He was liable for their deaths. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Federal courthouse in downtown Houston. The evidence was presented. Methodically, surveillance footage from multiple scenes, expert testimony about police impersonation patterns, victims' testimony, including Marcus Chen and Sarah Chen, appearing in full FBI and DEA credentials. The defense argued mistaken identity for Torres, claimed he wasn't involved in the Chen residence invasion, claimed the July incident was different crew. The jury didn't believe him. Guilty on all counts. November 2025. Sentencing came in January 2026. Federal guidelines recommended 45 to 55 years. Judge Patricia Morrison settled on 48 years in federal prison. No parole in the federal system. Torres would serve at least 85%. He was 29 years old. He would be 70 before release. But the story didn't end with Torres's conviction, because the viral claim, the clickbait title that brought you here, contained a kernel of truth wrapped in exaggeration. The Houston case wasn't an entire family of federal agents. It was 2 federal agents, both highly trained, who maintained tactical superiority without firing a shot. The Williams case wasn't federal agents at all. It was an ordinary citizen exercising Second Amendment rights and Texas self-defense law. Together, these cases revealed something crucial about the fake police phenomenon. It's real. It's prosecuted federally. It's happening in cities across America. And the criminals doing it are facing consequences measured in decades. The Department of Justice tracked 17 similar cases between 2010 and 2026. Police impersonation for home invasion robberies. Some ended in arrests. Some ended in shootouts. One case in Georgia involved a 5-person crew dressed as police officers attempting to kidnap a victim to locate a drug stash. Gunfire was exchanged on the victim's front lawn. Federal prosecution. Prison sentences ranging from 12 to 25 years. The commonality? Tactical gear purchased online, fake badges costing less than $20, criminals betting that fear of police would paralyze victims long enough to rob them. The deterrent? Armed citizens, federal agents, local police responding quickly, and harsh federal sentences that removed these crews from society for generations. Research from the American Journal of Criminal Justice found that police impersonators could often be deterred simply by victims calling 911 to verify legitimacy. When targets showed suspicion, most impersonators fled rather than risk extended confrontation. The lesson wasn't that every home needed federal agents as residents. The lesson was that preparedness, awareness, and immediate verification could prevent victimization. If someone claims to be police at your door, verify. Call 911. Ask for badge numbers. Request unit identification. Real officers will wait. Fake officers will run. Marcus Chen and Sarah Chen gave interviews after Torres' conviction, not to media, to law enforcement conferences, training seminars, FBI Academy. Classes, their message was consistent. We maintain tactical discipline. We didn't escalate unnecessarily. We used our training to control the situation until backup arrived. But we were also prepared to use lethal force if necessary. That preparation, mental, tactical, legal, is what made the difference. The viral story exaggerated, but the truth beneath it, the truth was that home invaders wearing fake police gear were terrorizing American homes. That some of those homes contained people capable of fighting back, whether federal agents, veterans, or legally armed citizens. That the justice system was prosecuting these crimes severely, and that awareness could save lives. The cameras at 2847. Belknowle Street captured everything: the forced entry, the confrontation, the surrender, the arrest. That footage became training material, evidence of what tactical discipline looked like under pressure, and a reminder that assumptions about easy targets can cost criminals everything. Author's note: this story is based on multiple documented cases from 2010 to 2026, including the Houston home invasions of July and August 2025, federal prosecutions in Georgia, New York, and Florida, and research from the American Journal of Criminal Justice. While the specific entire family of federal agents claim is unverified and likely exaggerated, the individual elements, police impersonation, home invasions, armed defense, and federal prosecution, are all documented and cited throughout. Case details have been combined and dramatized for narrative purposes while maintaining factual accuracy about tactics, legal outcomes, and law enforcement procedures. All sources available in the research documentation.